everyone, and welcome to the Mars 4 game development update, summary, some gameplay footage, and anime afterwards. So, as always, I'll start out first giving you guys an update of where we are in the game, how it's going, show you guys gameplay, and then I will be answering all of your questions. Also, at the end of the AMA, we'll be giving away a few prizes, so stick around for that. And lastly, there was another very important point I was going to make, which I had forgotten. Oh, yes, feel free to ask your questions at any point throughout the AMA, but once I finish the presentation, like showing you guys the gameplay, then I'll go through and I'll answer every single one of your questions, as always. So if I haven't answered immediately, don't worry, just be patient. Wait till we get to the end, and then I'll address it as always. So, to start with, this is the current version of Mars 1, which we'll be putting out live pretty soon into the community. So I'm just going to walk you through actually playing the game. Like, I just started this new campaign, a new game. So this is the first steps of the tutorial. Right now, my oxygen is low, and it's teaching me about how to refill my oxygen. Bottom left of my screen. So I just found this oxygen canister on the ground. I had to pick it up, use it, and then that will refill my oxygen. And then it moves on to the next steps in the initial tutorial, which is exploring the wreck that I arrived on and just giving me some basic necessities that I need, such as my building plan, a pickaxe, and some other parts that it will teach me how to utilize later on. As a survival game, it's kind of important that you start getting stuff set up. The game starts in the morning time. I'm not sure if you guys noticed the sun rising. But that means the temperature for the moment, as in Mars 1, the land plot we're using is near the equator, the temperature actually gets fairly livable during the day. But once nightfall comes, it's going to be an issue. So we need to try and get a shelter set up before nightfall arrives and before I run out of oxygen. Because I have started with the one oxygen canister I just used up, and I have one more spare. And we need to first get some oxygen production going before those two run out. So first steps that I'm going to do, you're going to need to mine some of the starting resources just around where I crashed. And I'm going to get this done quickly so that I don't die. And then I'll show you guys some of the other features, like show you guys a bit more of the map and stuff like that. But I'm going to get this done very quickly. And these are all like examples of the lowest level tools and stuff. So this is literally the starting experience in your first few minutes of the game. Through more gameplay, more progression, and also the later versions of the game, Mars 2, 3, 4, like, and you wouldn't be expecting to be mining stuff with a pickaxe, exosuits and stuff like that. So I have, let's see what I got. I got 61 kilos of iron ore, 4 kilos of silicon, 24 kilos of aluminum ore, and 600 grams of wood. So let's start out just building a simple platform, because the first step is those of you who have read the tutorial, I think we just done the minimap. Already see it. The next step I need to do is put together the fabricator, which I have the parts for. So let's craft the fabricator. I had two parts here that came separately that I picked up from the wreck, and the first step is just teaching players how to use the character crafting system. The first thing is fabricator. While that's happening, I'm actually going to expand this. This is going to be too small, because as soon as I set up the fabricator, right after that, I also going to need to set up a arc furnace to smelt the iron ore, which is not. So it's not set up. Well, I actually like that shape. So what we'll do, let's go with Windows square areas. Oh, this done. Okay, so let's place that back here. There we go. Not that it doesn't actually matter, you can have an enable, but just here is the screen that will show progress and what's going on. So your first fabricator, it runs on battery power, which we have another battery. And we can throw in here the other resources, and the first thing we make is not rice. But I have used up all the iron ore that I had for building stuff, so I need to also in the distance there's two vehicles. If you can recognize them from this distance, tell me at the end of the stream. One of the developers was joking around. I picked this location for the crash site because this view is kind of awesome. And that crater over there is like one of the most distinct elements of this land plot. Later on, I'll post a link to what land plot this is on. And so I wanted the Mars one being able to start within view of that crater. But what it meant on the side of the hillside is sometimes when you're mining the rocks, like the ores and stuff, they're just tumbling down the. Hey! Oh. And so they're saying that was pretty unlucky. I think reality is, if the ship would have smashed into this cliff face, instead of trying to landing elegantly there, it would have been more unlucky. So, consequences. Yeah. One. What time is it? It's noon right now. You see in the bottom left the temperature and time. So let's try this here, and let's get to work on an arc furnace. So an arc furnace, you notice it requires 20 iron ore and 1 battery to produce, and it'll take the battery from this inventory, so I wanted to use like an empty battery instead of one of the full ones. So that production, and in the meantime, actually, so let's So, the furnace, I will get that to start smelting. Smelting. Iron ore. Now, battery power is next thing to go. Luckily, I started, one of the things I picked up from those containers was the sunflower solar charger. So I put a battery in here, and it started charging power. This is only going to work during the daytime. It's already 12:38. So we're already past the midday sun, and now so I'm going to leave that smelting and come up over here. This is some other ore nodes down there. Find backup to those things. I hope that most of these will not cut below me. Sorry, so good. Oh. Ah, those are good. That's okay. And then the next thing I need to do is fill out the basic structure and upgrade it so that it's airtight, so that I can get atmosphere going. If you notice, my oxygen at the bottom left is already burned through a lot of that canister. I have one more. So I got one more canister. The battery that I just took from the solar charger, put that in the furnace. Smelting. Wow. just fixed it. It's having a little more impact on the resources that you're missing. Charge. Solid generator. And the generator we can just place out there somewhere. And then I'll put my empty oxygen tank in and start refilling that. Cool. So we just in time for me to start getting low oxygen. So enjoy my last oxygen canister knowing that I will have another one at the end of it. Next problem is to address is temperature. I want to expand this base more. So let's see if we can get that done. Charge. I've got to stop it. I'm going to need some more iron because I ended up making the base a bit bigger than I was intentionally planning to. Whoever's going to build their base right at the bottom of this cliff is making a lot of money. Oh wow, where'd that one go? Yeah. I guess this is the tax for having a good view. Okay. Oh crap. I really wish I had a high level exosuit or something. You don't jump off these rocks very easily. Let's see. Yeah. Get the run and start. Oh. Hey, that's looking pretty cool. Hey, it's not finished yet. The dust storm in the background. I'm liking how my base is turned out. Learn my lesson. Not worth it to jump off the cliff with the line. Let's build a staircase. Put the staircase in. Wait. Oh, I'm an idiot. There's a door frame, it's not windows. But I'm not very good at what I'm doing. This. use of all the Tron that I can. Oh, I'm gonna actually take this moment now that I have a bit. Now that I'm not too worried about oxygen. Still worried about temperature. I'll get that. So here is where we are at the moment. You can see this is that rect right there. And if we go in any direction, the map is just absolutely amazing. Right? There's so much here. Like down here, this is the plateau that you were seeing with all the little craters. Pop that in, with all those little craters down there in the distance. Yeah, this is all inside of just one normal land block. Like not a rare, it's just a normal land block that one of the developers owns. What was it? Oh, I was going to. Stop. Go away. You let the fabricator start working on it. Maybe the fabricator in the doorway. Silicon and one iron. Yep, do that. Maybe a few windows. Also silicon iron. See. In hindsight, I should maybe make a simpler base to show you guys, but I really like this base design. So, not the door's probably right. Put the door in place. There's massive gaps on either side of it, but we have a door. Put some windows in as well. The rest of the walls are more window than wall, but still, progress. When I was speaking with Andrews, the COO, he was talking about how one of the important things in survival that a lot of people don't consider is like maintaining your mental sanity, right? Because you're alone there in what seems like potentially a desperate situation. It's easy to kind of lose hope, so you have to like focus on small successes. And yeah, so we have windows. Small success. And as before, don't worry about like keep dropping your questions in chat, and I will get to all of them once I finish having fun playing the game. It's kind of what this turned into. I haven't really been talking that much and just playing, but I guess that's the best presentation of the game. If someone needs to talk about all the things the game has and can do and stuff, well, then the game probably can't do it. fully scaffolded a base that, once upgraded, would be airtight. Will be. Oh crap, temperature's dropping now. Four iron, one energy cell, yes, I can. So let's start with heater, and I'll just put it in the center. Like, it's going to do very little until this whole thing is airtight. Center, temperature around my suit temperature now is higher, so that's good. And so what's not going on because I don't need raw iron anymore, but that was I just used for scaffolding. Let's see if we get a little bit more juice out of the solar panel before the sun completely sets. Not bad view though. Rather good. Location, location, location. That. Start with the floor. It's very cold outside. We're down to 3.6 degrees Celsius away from the heater. So that's, yeah, that's pretty cold. And I'll probably keep dropping. But we'll probably end the stream before I get this. And the whole planet Mark before the that's out. So at the moment, and in Mars 1, the first version you guys are going to play, the gameplay, as you guys can see, is focused mostly around crafting, mining, exploration, and building a base that can keep you alive. Luckily in this stream so far we haven't had to deal with any harsher weather than this, but it's still, it still is getting pretty cold at night. Oh shit, my suit temperature is down to 3 degrees. 3 degrees? We're about to need it. Yep. Now, you notice my character is taking damage because my suit temperature is not so low. So, gotta get back to the heater. No. Oh, there we go. Ooh, the heater had turned off. So, now I'm back up. I'll take damage from the cold. I think after this, what I'm going to do, however, at that point, I think I can actually start answering questions. So, my goals moving forwards now with this base, I have to finish upgrading it, make it airtight, and then I need to craft an oxygen generator. See, an oxygen generator? Hold on, I don't want to spend the iron on that just yet. And then I want to get a hydrogen energy cell charger so that I can. Oh, that I actually could make right now because I have a lot spare over. I'll start crafting that now because although this little solar charger is doing its damn best to keep me alive, nighttime has already fallen, so that's not going to be much help. We need something a bit more sustainable. So what I'm going to do now is I'll open up and start looking through everyone's questions. And in the meantime, I'll still keep playing, but at a much slower pace. So let's see. So first question, will there be a cloud save system? Not for Mars 1. For Mars 1, it's fully single player, and we're not, you'll be doing saves locally. If you really want to, you could move the save from one place to another. Unfortunately, we would have liked to put Mars 1 on Steam, for example, which would have done that for us. However, Steam is not allowed crypto games, so that would mean that we had to make a decision of do we want to build our own cloud save system right now, or just focus on development. Because after Mars 1, the cloud save system wouldn't be necessary, because by that point it's fully online and you're running on the dedicated game servers, in which case, yes. At that point, effectively, no matter where you log in from, all of your account data, all of your inventory, everything is on the server, not on the client. So we decided not to bother implementing a cloud save system because it would be investing development time into a feature that would quickly become obsolete. So yeah, for Mars 1, no cloud save, but later on, effectively yes, because everything will be on the cloud, so it doesn't really, yeah, it won't be saving anything locally. Max Cooper says cheers. Cheers, mate. The next question. Oh, that's not the right one. Once you survive, build your station, mine resources, build your chase route, and how are you going to keep players engaged in the market experience? Well, oh Jesus, that was a long drop, and I'm freezing down now. I don't know if I'm actually making it die. Freezing very, very quickly. Go on. Oh, do I make it down? No, I don't. Damn it. Television responding. Continue from where I was. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I was looking at your questions. Grab everything off of my body. Okay, so the question was, how will we keep players engaged? Well, as we've seen already, even with just building exploration and crafting games, you can have a lot of player engagement because everyone's always trying to build bigger and build better, explore more, find more cool things, go cooler places and cooler places. But more than that, I think one of the main things that will keep players engaged is the data. We've seen players play this type of game for tens of thousands of hours just because it's fun to build stuff and express yourself. As long as we keep new content flowing, like adding new different things you can build, things you can craft, different ways to build bases, etc. As long as we do that, we've seen players play this type of game for very long times. And then add on to the fact that while doing the same thing they were doing before, now they can actually be making money doing it, even making a living potentially. I think that alone will cover a lot of the player retention necessities. And also there's other ways that we can be addressing it as needed, but in my opinion, let's address problems as they actually surface as problems, and I suspect that that's really, like, even what we have planned currently in a minimalist is still so much more than every other pay-to-earn game has that I don't think that's going to be too big of an issue. And if it is, we can look at adding different methods of events and like weekly events or different seasons to things, etc. This is like how to increase player retention is a problem that standard game development, like free-to-play games, have been perfecting for the past decade. So it's not a new problem we have to invent a solution for. It's kind of, there's lots of known, tried and true things that you can do. But honestly, I think like if this type of game was able to survive and thrive before pay-to-earn mechanics, then incorporating pay-to-earn mechanics into it is going to be more than enough. Next question. Will we be able to control colonists in this demo, or can we only control one player from this demo? You'll only have a single colonist you'll be playing with, and if it dies, you would just respawn, as we saw already. We'll be adding in ownership of multiple colonists and stuff like that later on, but as this first demo of the game is really focusing just on the core gameplay mechanics, balancing and perfecting them to be as fun as possible, because that's what, going back to the previous question about how will we retain players, and the real solution is that it's just being a genuinely fun game. And so, for that to work, it's all about playtesting, getting player feedback, etc. Redesigning the base log. Yeah. Well, that's staying like that. I'm not going to destroy it. Let's continue. So, does the team own this demo land block? Yes. In fact, Judas, the COO, he is the one who owns this. Oh, crap, that's out of power. Second. So, next question. Mars Terrain doesn't seem like the most exciting place to explore and have fun. Can you elaborate on how you will keep the experience interesting and avoiding potential sensitive weaknesses? At the moment, the terrain is quite bland because it's still early in development. This is like the first build we're putting out. So terrain will be getting much better. Normally when you see a game, any kind of game launched publicly, it's been in development for many years, and you're seeing like the 10th iteration on each thing. But in the crypto community, because we do everything more open and transparent with the public, it means you're seeing stuff at a stage that you rarely see in games. So you must just take into consideration that everything will be improving and getting much better. And even in fact, right now, the terrain is already looking a bit more interesting and better than this, but like it's bad practice to update something just before a presentation. But one thing I think will really change it a lot is once we have vehicles driving. That is going to change the way the player interacts. Because running around this environment, sure, it's massive, but that would get pretty boring. But once you have vehicles to be exploring it, the amount, what becomes interesting gets a lot different. All of a sudden, like craters and mountains and valleys become interesting, challenging, trying to traverse them in a vehicle, versus just stuff you either can or can't walk across. So I think that will dramatically change it. And also, as it gets better looking and as we mix more resources in and stuff like that in amongst the terrain, then once again, there's more things to find, more things to explore. We want to also integrate in other crash sites and stuff, like the one that I spawned next to here, to allow players to kind of find surprises also around resources and stuff like that. And I think that's also a big part of what will make exploration a bit more interesting, finding stuff of value. If you find something of value, you get to sell it for real world money. And that right there makes something that could feel kind of meaningless have meaning. No, there is not. In this demo, there is not a finite amount of. The question was, is there a finite amount of resources in this demo? And no, in Mars 1, the resources do respawn. You may have noticed that I've actually mined this resource like a couple times now. It respawn, like for the AMA, I made it respawn pretty quickly, so you don't see it running around too much. But the resources do respawn, so you're able to build as much as you want. And that's kind of the point. This demo is really only focusing on the building systems and interactions and those types of things. We're not worrying about too much of the exploration elements, too much of the resource elements, no vehicles in. It's really focusing on the base building systems, because that's the first thing that we want to polish and get great, and then after that, we'll be integrating with vehicles and other systems, and kind of polishing and balancing, and improving on each one at a time, or in batches actually. Question. Using available building blocks, how tall can a structure be, i.e. 10-story building? There is no what's the word? There's no restrictions on height or anything like that. In what we're testing with Mars 1, I can't promise if this is how it will always stay, because this is going to be under feedback and stuff like that. But at the moment, the only restrictions there is in the building process is structural overhangs. So if you build a wall up, a ceiling can only go 6 meters out before it needs reinforcements if you want to keep building sideways. So that's the only building restriction we have at the moment, because like as building is meant to be quite a fun and engaging part of the game, we don't want to be restricting players' creativity too much. And that's the theory we'll be testing first. That may change over time, because I could see situations where players want, where the community wants to create more of a progression system, for example, more specialization for engineering columnists, in which case restricting the ability for buildings to be built that high without some mechanic that requires an engineering columnist, an architect columnist to get involved. So, yeah. But to answer your question, in this first demo, it's not an issue. Very high. Should have actually put it. No, I can't take it out because I didn't build it properly now. So, oxygen 259. Oh, I can charge batteries. It's 4 in the morning. Did I leave the battery? There's the battery for my heater, but I really kind of need that to survive. So the problem I have is that my fabricator doesn't see all my batteries are empty, and I want to craft the oxygen generator, but I need not only a battery for the generator, which that I have, but I need a full battery to actually. Forgot. I produced a hydrogen energy cell charger a while ago, and now I can put that down here. Put in all of these empty batteries. Charge them. How? The hydrogen there. Okay, so there's a solution. Because the problem is otherwise, I'd have to wait till daybreak to use my solar battery charger. So that's charging. While that's going, oh, my options go around. So refill my suit's oxygen so I don't forget about that guy. Let's see. Yes, the solar battery charger is very small and funny and cute. It's animated also. This version of the game isn't animated, but like it folds up and collapses into the ground so that during sandstorms it doesn't get damaged. But the idea is that this is like the efficient, cheap, portable version because it's the one you brought down on your spaceship with you, and then you can build fields of these, or you can build bigger, more advanced ones. Have I grown my first potato yet? No. In fact, potato growing is not really supported in Mars 1. As I said, we're just focusing on the building and crafting mechanics for Mars 1. In Mars 2, though, we will be introducing potato growing. And we've already started growing. When potatoes. Yes, yes. Please, can we make that a meme? That needs to be a Mars 4 community meme. When potatoes. Yes, building. Someone says, I see that building roads will be useful. Yes, building roads will be super useful. As you can already see, not only even just for walking around, building roads will be super useful, but also for vehicles and stuff, because there are some vehicles that are very good on rough terrain and stuff like that. However, not all of them, and if you look at something like the Shire, HLTV, that you guys should have already seen, like a big sci-fi semi-truck. That has massive transport capabilities, but it's not that great off-road. So, or by off-road, I mean in extreme terrain. Like, I wouldn't want to try and drive that thing through a crater. Around one, sure, but through one, probably not. So, being able to build roads and bridges and stuff over craters is a great way to be able to get the full value out of that vehicle. Whereas you have some other stuff like the Terrapin, which I'm not sure if you guys know about or not yet. I believe some footage has been released of it. A single character vehicle with a ground scanning radar to like find resources and stuff like that. That is fantastic on road. It really doesn't need you to build roads. Right? That thing can climb up a tree. It's the oxygen generator. Oh, the energy cell should be charged up. Turn that off. also going to start while I have a full battery. Start recharging before that oxygen comes. It's here. I think. Pressurizable. Should be. Yes! Haha! We have pressure. So now, put up my visor, which you can barely see. You raise your visor, and now notice I'm no longer using my suit's oxygen. So if I put down my visor, I'll continue using my suit's oxygen. I'm inside. Outside. Yeah. Okay. So it's not using. Repressurize. Oh, no. I'll put another battery on the other side. Okay. So let's I need to go analog. That's what I need to do. Otherwise I can keep repressurizing every single time. And atmosphere generators such as this one, they use up a lot of battery power to pressurize the room. Once it's pressurized, though, maintaining it is a lot easier. But so I'm wasting a lot of energy not having it analog in this place. It's harder than it might seem at first glance, but it's cool. Michael Peck said, real pictures of Mars don't look that great. Yes, it's true. And it's actually something we've had a lot of artistic discussions on, about what's the right balance of red. Because realistically, Mars looks almost exactly like a normal desert on Earth. But then there's a question to be had there. Is that what we want? Because part of this is like the having something alien feeling, having something unique and off-world feeling, or feel like you're on Mars. In reality, if you want to feel like you're on Mars, just go to the middle of the Gobi Desert. Like the middle of the Gobi Desert is more Mars-like than any movie or anything you've ever seen, except it has oxygen. That's it. But that's not really fun, because then Mars 4 is just Gobi Desert 4. It's not really that interesting. So it's about finding the right balance between realism and entertainment. And that's, we definitely haven't found the balance right now, especially in the terrain and stuff. I'm not super happy with it. There is a lot of improvements to be done, but there is always that kind of, that question of finding the right balance between the two. Because 100% realism is really cool. Like, you know that, 100% realism, one person dropped on Mars. Oh, it's hard. Like, you need so much infrastructure built ahead of time. Like, you would never expect that one person on Mars to do almost anything. It's not realistic that they would be able to have the infrastructure and tools. And so there's always some amount of suspension of disbelief or creative liberties one must take to try and capture the feeling of what you want to present, what is being presented, versus the scientific reality. It's like, I talked on movie, like, dogfights don't work that way. In fact, we don't have dogfights anymore. We haven't since before the first Top Gun movie was made. But still, seeing two aircraft fighting is cool. I just get stuck in that wall. Oh, I got stuck. Problem solved. So someone asked, once you break a rock, you get the minerals. Once those minerals are taken, what happens? I mean, are new rocks going to be available at the same place and location? Yeah, as I already answered someone else, in Mars 1, the new rocks will spawn back in those same locations. Later on, however, in future versions of the game, there will be more randomization, so you need to kind of explore different areas. And once you've mined out an area, it will be a while before new rocks spawn in. So what we'll be doing, we'll always be trying to maintain some quantity of resources on a land. However, we won't be we won't be on all lands. There will always be some minimum amount of resources that are on them, so that you can actually play the game. However, we won't be respawning them in the same places. And once you mine out an area, what you will find is that some new resources have spawned in some other parts of the game. So there is, that kind of motivates people. You can't just expect to mine the same area over and over again like you will be able to in Mars 1. We'll have to be exploring more, and that's where the vehicles come in, because you won't always have good places to mine right next to where you want to build your base. So eventually you'll probably mine out the area around your base quite quickly, and then you'll expand out and you have to go further and further away from your base, deeper out into, as I said, like these other areas of the map, going miles and miles away. And then vehicles, transports, scouting vehicles, all that stuff gets a lot more necessary. Also, will it be possible to recycle materials from unused buildings, for instance? Yes. However, exactly how we want to do it, we haven't decided yet. In Mars 1, we don't have that system. But there needs to be some element of loss in the game, because this isn't a thing. Like, this isn't a functioning economy. We need some kind of breakage. And one of the areas that we're planning on incorporating that to some extent is in building things. So you can't build a whole base, then destroy it all and get all the resources back to build a new one. That's an area where resources will get a burn mechanic, basically, to use crypto terms. So there will be some amounts of there will be some amount of resource reimbursement. However, it's not decided how much yet, because that is going to be one of the priorities. Someone asked, where can I buy Mars land? You can buy it on mars4.me. Is the demo version only available to NFT holders? Yes, I'm almost positive. Possible change. Like, the past week has been kind of crazy. I haven't been keeping up with plays, but I'm pretty sure it's only available to landowners. Someone asked how to restore health. In Mars 1, your suit will naturally heal you over time, and later on there will be medicines and foods and stuff like that you craft. And you do heal over time, but it will be slower. I should have put some more windows in. I am going to destroy this wall. This wall looks like it should have. This is the tier 3 buildings. I'm not sure if you guys have seen these yet. I was in the middle of answering someone's question. Is it possible to change the color from yellow to something else? Oh, should be in the buildings. In Mars 1, there's just the tiers have been pre-color selected. However, afterwards we will be allowed, like in later versions, we'll allow people to color select the different tiers, kind of repaint, etc. I see a team has made some updates. Are you planning to launch a new Mars logo with better views on the plots? Yes, it is in the plans. It's still in fairly early development though, so I have no idea. But nothing's been talked about yet officially. But yes, we're looking into that now and see how we can do it. It's not going to be launching with the website, but it's something that you can expect at some point in the future. How about a video of the shuttle crash? Will it be on the demo or later? I'm not going to answer that for artistic reasons. Yeah, I hope you're okay with that. That's to be the only question that I'm not going to answer. Because reasons that will hopefully become clear when you actually play it. I really like how the tier 3 floor triangle tiles came out. Really like it's a tessellated pattern like that. So and you make a bigger window. See how it goes. So next questions. Hi Nick, 3 favorite beers, brand of beer. My very favorite beer, I can't pronounce the name of. It's from Estonia. It's called like POH something. And there's an accent somewhere. I don't know what it's dark beers, like 8.7%. They have a chocolate and a orange and coffee bean version, and they are just out of this world. Oddly enough, Spiros, the art director, we went out for pizza and beers yesterday, and we were drinking the beer, and he was making fun of me that I can't pronounce the name of the beer, so there's no way I'll ever be able to find the beer if this one pizza shop that I go to ever stops stocking it. And I was like, it doesn't matter, I don't need to know the name of that beer, because I go there and he always has it. And the next day, I actually do need to know it. It's amazing. After that, of like a more common beer that's pretty easy to find, I would say Grimbergen. The like red beer from Austria, I think it is. I really love that. That's a great beer. And third, Septum Red. Septum is a local Greek, northern Greek brewery, and they have a red beer that is really nice. But in general, I'm a big fan of all dark beers. Dark beers or red beers, it's rare that I found one that I don't like. Will there be a spectator mode in the final version of Mars for landowners who are not active? Yes, however, exactly how it will work, I'm not sure yet. Because the easiest thing to do would just be let them like spectate in full 3D, etc. But that would like mean longer loading times and stuff like that. And we're imagining if a landowner is not very active, then he wouldn't also want to wait around for loading times. And he probably doesn't care too much about like super great graphics and stuff. So we're trying to think of how best to provide that spectator landowner oversight mode for that type of user. We're not sure exactly what that is yet. It would probably be something super easy to load in a browser that you could look at on your So exactly how we will finalize that is undecided, but there will be something. We move the mini-map with the keyboard and mouse. Yeah, the mini-map just moves as you move your character. Like, it always keeps you centered. If you're referring to this map, yes, at the moment it's moved just with WASD. It doesn't have click drag functionality. As you can see, like, we haven't put any work into the visuals of the interfaces yet. Like, this is just gray boxes, because don't see just gray boxes. Because our focus is on mechanics and systems and stuff like that. You know, get the hard stuff done first, get people playing it, and then we'll sort out. And then we'll sort out the details of like exactly how long and stuff. See his life. I just found a bug. Yeah, I just found a bug. I should be able to build this here. I'm not sure why I can't. Let's build it there. Build it there. Build it there. Oh, I haven't actually showed you guys these. You can also build domes, but you need to build all the foundations for them first. I can maybe build this dome. Just to show this off. I'm trying to be lazy. I'm trying to build a quick and easy route up to the root to show you the small dome. I mean, that we all know. So the domes are different roof options that you can use. So here, there's the small dome. And then you have progressively larger ones. And these are the different roof options for buildings that give you a bit more space and a bit more efficient to build, stuff like that. Because obviously we can build on ours. And we have three sizes. That one, the other ones I can't afford. There's the one. So it's pretty massive. So that's more or less its radius. So see what questions people have. I have two lands next to each other. Can I access them continuously? It depends exactly what you mean by continuously. You'll be able to move from one land to another, like in the game, like move up to the border of one and move into the next one. However, there will be a short loading screen between the two. So it's not, like, you're able to move back and forth between them just fine, but you couldn't, for example, build a base that is like right along the wall. Because you need to, there will be a short loading screen to move you from one land server into the next one. Is it possible to make a build for mobile devices from Unreal, or is it too heavy a graphic process? No, you definitely can make Unreal games for mobile. However, it's just a question of how much time we put into optimization. So trying to get a version to run on mobile or something like that is definitely something we will be working on, but it's going to be a priority for much later down the line. Not something we'll be doing anytime soon, just because of the time investment it would take into optimization. Right now we're prioritizing getting as I said before, getting the game functionality in so that we can be playing, playtesting, improving, polishing, etc. Then after we have that, then we'll start looking at expanding to different platforms, different clients. Are you serious? I ran out of stuff. Look. This is 6 more, so yes, yeah, it would be great to game on the go. It is something we do want to support. It's just the prioritization of first getting core features working, getting people playing the game, etc., and then going out to support different platforms and stuff like that. Like, as I keep saying, the most important thing and my main priority is to make sure we have a fun game and people like to play. Once we have that, then we can look at how we get more people playing it, how we get people playing it on mobile devices, how we get people playing it on worse computers. It's not another bug. Why am I losing health? I'm about to die. No idea why. Well, that's a bug. Anyway, I'll figure that out. I think with that we have answered all of the questions, and I have a special prize to give away for someone. And for the best question, I think, what's the best question? There was some really good questions in here. I think it has to be the potato, right? It has to be the potato. Right? It's when potato. Let me see, who came up with the when potato? There's when potato. And that needs to become a meme. What's that? Yap Chan. When potato. Yep. So Yap Chan trade. I'm sure I'm butchering the pronunciation of your name. I'm sorry, man. Contact the Mars team to get your free land. Great. Thanks for joining me, guys. I appreciate it, and I will. I'll speak to you guys soon, and you guys will be playing this soon as well. So, thank you so much for joining me, guys, and I'll see you around Discord. As you all know, I am always there. Cheers, guys. Bye.